Welcome to the next session of Strength of Materials. Today I am going to discuss about stress and strains in bars with varying cross sections. The bars which I am going to consider are going to be in series. It is called as compound bar as well. There are two types in it. The first type is all the sections are subjected to the same type of load. As you can see, AB, B to C and C to D are the three bars. They are subjected to the same tensile load P on both the ends. First, we are going to draw the FBD of each bar. So, we'll start. First, I'll start with the bar AB. The length is L1 and the area is A1. This is the first bar. Now, for this bar, how do we mark the load on both the sides? This is the FBD, which means I have drawn only a part of this entire compound bar. Now, I will start always from the end where I know the load completely. For example, at section A, you can see I know the load which is P. Since I know the load on one end is P, I have marked it, and on the other end, as I am pulling one end with load P, the other end also has to be subjected to the load P. That is how the tensile load is applied. So here I will draw P. This is how AB's FBD is supposed to be drawn. I will always draw the FBD of the end bars first and then of the middle portion. So I have drawn for AB, now I will draw for CD. CD has area A3, this is the third bar, the length is L3. I will start with the end that I know, which is P. Since the load on section D is P, obviously on the other side the load will also be P. The corner ones are very simple to draw because it is always seen that these problems have the end loads known. So it is very simple to draw the corner ones. So I have drawn that. Now I'll go to the middle portion, which is B to C. This is B to C. Length is L2. Area is A2. This is the second bar. Now, this is the most important part because here both the ends are such that I do not know the load of any one end. So, I will start with any random side. Suppose I start with B. Now, you can see that B is a shared portion between AB, BC. Similarly, C is also a shared section between BC, CD. So we will have to look at the other section as well when I am solving for a particular section. For example, if I am talking about B, I will also have to look at bar AB because B is present in AB as well. So when I look at this portion, I will see that P is of tensile type. Since this is of tensile type, obviously this will also be of tensile type because the entire bar is being pulled. So there is no question of compression coming into picture. So I will draw tensile type over here also. Now why so? If you observe at this junction B in this compound bar, there is no load shown, which means two load is present but they have cancelled out each other because they are equal and opposite in magnitude. Suppose if I say that this P is 10 kilonewton, you can observe at section B for AB bar, B is going to create 10 kilonewton positive, and from BC bar at section B, P will create a negative 10 kilonewton. So they actually cancel out each other and there is no load shown. Similarly, when I talk about junction C, over here there is no load shown, which means when I look at this section, I can see it is of tensile type. Since it is pulling, obviously this is also pulling because one end is being pulled, But if you observe only these two, you will see that one is pulling, I mean both the forces are pulling each other in opposite direction, so they are equal and opposite and they cancel out each other. Otherwise also a very simple technique is, since my bar is only under tensile effect, which means all the bar or the individual bars are going to have increase of length, which means there will be some elongation, so I will have to show tension on both the sides for all the bars. If this would have been a compressive type of load, say of this type P, then here the only change would have been the direction. So all the bars will come under compression effect. Right now all of them are under tensile effect. Now I will assume that the change in dimension of this bar is delta L1. For B to C I will say it is delta L2, and for C to D there is a small change which is delta L3. Now let's look at some terms which we need to find. First portion is A to B. For A to B, let the stress be sigma 1. The load on this AB portion is P and the area is A1. Strain is given as E. So I will call it as E1, which will be sigma 1 upon E. Assuming that the Young's modulus of all the material is the same, which means all the bar is of same material, steel, brass, copper, anything. So I am just taking this as E. Had this been different material, then I would have taken E1, E2, E3. Now, elongation is something which we need to calculate. Elongation has a formula, delta L1. The formula is PL upon EA. This is a simple formula which we have derived. P is common, so it will remain P for all the portions. L is L1 for the first section. E also I am considering same, and the area is A1. Let's talk about the second portion, B to C. The stress will be sigma 2, load is P, area is A2. Strain E2 will be sigma 2 upon E, and delta L2 will be PL2 upon E A2. For the third section, C to D, stress will be sigma 3 is P upon A3, and strain will be sigma 3 upon E. Delta L3 will be PL3 upon E A3. So this is how the table can be filled up. Now the last thing which I need to calculate is delta L, which is the total increase or elongation, as I would call it. Now this can also be decreased if load is compressive type. Currently this is of tensile type of load, so I have taken total increase. If this is of compressive type, I will take decrease in length. Now here the first one will be delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3. So this is the formula of delta L for the bars which are connected in series. So this is how you calculate the stress, strain and total elongation, and if required you can also calculate the individual elongation. Next we will talk about the second type, that is the section subjected to different loads at the junction. You can observe here at junction A the load is P1, at junction B the load is P2, at C the load is P3 and at D the load is P4. Length like the previous one, L1, L2, L3, area A1, A2, A3. Here I have taken a small change, that is I have taken different materials, so it is E1, E2 and E3. Start by drawing the FBD of each part. I'll first draw for AB, then for CD and finally for B to C. It is going to be similar like the previous one, except that the loads are going to change at each junction. So I'll start with AB. Length L1, area is A1, Young's modulus is E1. I will again start with the junction where I know the load, or I would say there is only one load in this case. So at junction A, I can see there is only one load P1. So I'll just write P1 over here. Now, for right hand side, this is little different and important. Please observe carefully. For this junction B, I will be using something which is called as principle of superposition, which means that P2 is a load which is already applicable at the junction B. So P2 is of tensile type, so I have written plus P2. This P3 is applied at junction C, but definitely it has some effect on the junction B. So suppose if I imagine that I am lifting this vector and I place it at the junction B, this P3 will be pushing this end B, which means it will be compressing. Since it is compressing the junction B, I will write the effect of P3 on B is minus P3. And if you observe P4, when I pick up the vector and I place it at point B, this vector will be pulling the end B. Since it is pulling or tension kind of effect is applicable, I will write plus P4. Now comes the question of direction of arrow. On one end, if I apply tensile kind of effect, obviously on the other side, I have to apply tensile kind of effect. It is not possible to pull and push on the two different ends. So they have to be of the same type or the same nature to create either a tension effect or a compressive effect. I mean, it can either increase the length or decrease the length, which means I will have to put tensile type of effect. So here you can see that P1 is actually equal to P2 minus P3 plus P4, which is true because this bar is in static state. So D'Alembert's principle is applicable. Summation of force along x-axis is equal to 0. If I know the value of P1, P2 and P4, I don't know P3, obviously I'll have to use this equation. I can calculate P3. So if I can calculate the values using D'Alembert's principle, I can use the same principle here as well. So I can say P1 is equal to P2 minus P3 plus P4. Next I'll solve for CD in a similar fashion. You can see at junction D, the load is P4. So one end I have definitely marked. I know the effect on this bar, which is of tensile type. Now I look at end C. I know it will be tensile because if on one side it is given tensile, on the other side it cannot be compressive. So it has to be tensile. Now let's look at the values which I have to place here. If you observe carefully, P3 is actually pulling this end C, because you cannot say the effect of this arrow will be compressive on CD. It is definitely compressive on B to C portion, but not on C to D portion. So imagine that this tail end is placed here and the arrow is facing this side. So it will actually be pulling the section or junction C. So I will write P3 as positive. Next, suppose if I have to place P2 over here, if I place this arrow, it will be pushing the junction C, hence it will be creating a compressive type of effect. When I talk about P1, if I lift it and I place it here, it is very much evident that P1 will always create a tensile kind of effect. So it is plus P1. So this is the load on the other side of bar CD or at junction C for the bar CD. This is the third bar. Area is A3. Young's modulus is E3. The length is L3. Last, I am going to draw B to C portion. This is B and this is C. This is L2. It's the second bar. Area is A2. Young's modulus is E2. Now, here you can start with any one junction. It really doesn't matter. I'll start with a junction B. Let's observe. At junction B, when I stand here, okay, let's assume that I'm standing at the center. Okay, when I stand at the center and when I'm talking about junction B, I can see there are two forces on the left hand side. First is P2, which is going to create a compressive kind of effect on B, and P1 will create a tensile kind of effect, which is very evident. So I'll write down P1 is tensile minus P2. When I talk about junction C, let's stand at the center and look to the right. When I look to the right, there are two forces, P3 and P4. P4 is evidently creating a tensile kind of effect and P3 is causing a compressive type of effect. So I will write here P4 tensile, P3 compressive. Now what kind of arrow do you expect me to draw here? If you observe junction B, here since it is moving towards the right, here I will draw it towards the left. Here since it is moving towards the left, I will draw it towards the right. This is a pure assumption which I have made here in this question. I technically cannot say whether it should be of pull or push type. It could also be push type. It depends on the values of these forces which are given to you in the question. So you need to just refer the question, see if this value is positive, then you can draw this kind of arrow. If it is negative, you will have to draw this type of arrow. This delta L2, this can be either positive or negative. I am assuming that this could be a positive value. You can also take it as a negative and create the formulation. Later on you can just check with a numerical. So here I will assume the change in length is delta L1, and for the third one the change in length is delta L3. Let's fill up the table again. First portion AB, stress is sigma 1, which will be P1 upon A1. This P1, if you observe, is also equal to P2 minus P3 plus P4. So I'll write here P2 minus P3 plus P4 upon A1. This is also equal to my sigma 1 value, because P1 is equal to P2 minus P3 plus P4. For strain, E1 is equal to sigma 1 upon E1. So once you calculate sigma 1, just substitute here, E1 value will be known to you. Substitute, get the answer of strain. For elongation, I'll use the same formula. Delta L1 is P1 L1 upon A1 E1. Here, instead of P1, I can also write P2 minus P3 plus P4 into L1 upon A1 E1. So this is also the formula for delta L1. Next, I'll write the formula for portion 2, which is B to C. Sigma 2 is equal to, let's see here, it is P1 minus P2 or P4 minus P3. If you observe, P1 minus P2 will be equal to P4 minus P3. So I'll write down P1 minus P2 upon A2 also equal to P4 minus P3 upon A2. So this is another formula of sigma 2. Strain will be sigma 2 upon E2. This is very simple. Delta L2 will be P1 minus P2 into L2 divided by A2 E2, or you can write it as P4 minus P3 into L2 upon A2 E2. You can use any one of these two formulas. Similarly here as well, you can use any one of the two formulas. So this is for the portion B to C. Next I'll go for portion C to D. Sigma 3 is equal to, one side was P4 upon A3, the other side was P3 minus P2 plus P1. P3 minus P2 plus P1 upon A3. So this is the formula of sigma 3. E3 will be sigma 3 upon E3, and delta L3 will be P4 L3 upon A3 E3, or delta L3 will be P3 minus P2 plus P1 into L3 upon A3 E3. Last formula that I have to write, total elongation will be delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3. Here I'll put a negative sign. It could be positive or negative. It depends on the values of these various loads given in the question. Now here I'm not writing these formulas again. It is self-explanatory. So I'll end it here. I hope you have understood the session. If you have any doubts, let me know in the comment section. In the next session, we will be discussing about numericals based on this formula. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon for latest updates of my videos. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.